The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself.
Long has humankind sought to achieve cohesion and stability in our society. However, the turbulent forces of power which direct it have always been out of the commoner's grasp. As we enter the age of information, it becomes increasingly apparent that the old narratives which have guided us for so long do not work. The political state is no more than a myth enforced by power and those that control it. No longer can we abide by archaic ideals of power ordained by social class or any other outward appearance. The internet has opened portals of expression and mobilization unlike any we have seen, and the time to use them is now. Democracy in its true nature was a fairy tale for the philosophers to muse over, and with no practical way to aggregate the will of the people, we can hardly blame our ancestors for the often despotic forms of hierarchy they created to order their societies. However, as we move towards a globalized society in this digital age, it becomes obvious that the systems we use are in need of a major upgrade. Substantial shifts can often be catalyzed by new technologies. Slavery was the predominant means of production until the Industrial Revolution came about. The Catholic Church held Europe in a tight grasp for hundreds of years, and it wasn't until Gutenberg popularized the printing press that the Reformation was possible. You can see many parallels between the emergence of printed words and the sharp growth that machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms have taken this past year. To illustrate the point, we must draw our focus to the way in which information was recorded and understood before the 15th century. Back then, most books were written and read exclusively by members of the clergy. Holy workers dedicated their entire lives to the study of Latin and the preservation of knowledge through it. As Latin was not the vernacular, it reduced access of literary knowledge to this minority group for over 1,000 years. Holy keepers of knowledge acted as translators for the people, understanding the written word for themselves and then parsing that knowledge in the common language. These days, information is not only stored physically, but also digitally. Until now, to archive, interpret, and manipulate this digital data required the work of a programmer. Originally, to communicate with a computer, programmers had to understand the binary world of ones and zeros that transistors used to operate. Languages like assembly and C created a more abstract means of understanding binary logic, but language such as this was still incomparable to a natural one. Skilled apprentices might spend years learning these languages in order to build programs that allow us to interact with computer technology. These computer programmers act as the clergy did 500 years ago. The widespread adoption of the printing press gave our ancestors access to this once mystified literary catalog, and the world changed completely. As before, artificial intelligence now lets our people interact with this data in their common language. The potential for change seems almost limitless. Change doesn't have to be scary, though. As we all interact with this global digital consciousness the internet allows us to take part in, it seems obvious that almost every one of us is a creature wanting for love and not hate, but more so acting out of fears caused by narratives entrenched within us. Ideas hold power, and every one of us is realizing our potential to inject oneself into the global narrative. Old systems of information once held captive by oppressive, self-indulgent reptiles can no longer thrive under the basking glow of this digital ether. If we use this technology correctly, we can free ourselves from the chains of captivity and walk free as equal citizens, exercising each and every one of our unique voices on a decentralized, open-source network, using a digital ledger on a blockchain. Smart contracts will give agreements binding arrangements that neither party will be able to break from. Multi-factor authentication devices will allow us to vote online, using a decentralized system of identity. Utilizing the new options we have when talking to a computer, we can connect everyone to limitless digital knowledge in every language with accessibility features for all peoples. Computers will help the average person to understand their role in government, where they can enact their will, and exactly what terms they are agreeing to when voting for propositions of change. This will all take place on a singular government website, built to be the most sophisticated social media platform ever made. It will give the user a profile and avenues to interact with and make change, all from their digital device. Imagine a world in which all 8 billion people have an equal voice, an equal say. Even the poorest of the poor these days can have access to a smartphone and the internet. Their voices will matter in our new digital government just as much as someone like Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Greeks of old inspire what we consider to be democracy. Unfortunately, we can only consider it one if we forget all the slaves and women. In written history, true democracy has never been experienced. Our platform will be a true digital agora of discussion, critique, analysis, and action. Want to submit a bill proposition? Have an AI help you draft it. Click and drag into a smart contract and then watch it trend. If the conditions of the smart contract are met, the bill can then be transferred into a new smart contract designed to move it to the next stage of legislation. Most bureaucratic tasks can be automated by AI, freeing up our resources to focus on human issues. We can cut the bloat of government corruption and only elect the leaders we actually need. With the majority of infrastructure being automated and everyone having direct access to their representatives, we will usher in a new era of freedom unlike any seen before. Cause for concern in a system such as this is obviously trust. People already mistrust the political machine. Moving it online would seem to open up whole new avenues of attack by would-be meddlers. With so many already distrusting the voting record, an obvious solution is to move trust away from any centralized party. Before Satoshi Nakamoto's breakthrough in 2008, trust in any public ledger had to be maintained through a third-party mediator. The only way to swiftly transact money throughout the global economy was by way of centralized banks. These were the masters of our economic ledger, and if business was to digitally interact with the economy, it had to be by way of their ledgers. Unfortunately, trust in a party with selfish interests will never be absolute. Time and time again, we have watched these leviathans of industry steal and cheat with practically no consequences for their actions. It's no wonder the banking industry is so wary of blockchain technology. People lie, numbers don't. For the first time in history, we can place our trust not in centralized parties, but in a decentralized network run by arithmetic. Currency is not the only use case for a decentralized ledger. We can use open source algorithms to store vote tallies on a decentralized blockchain in which every citizen must be a validator in order to elect a leader. This will encourage government participation and completely decentralize the public ledger. We will prove our identities using multi-factor authentication drives. These hardware chips will connect to your device to act as a digital passport to the modern world. With every citizen able to prove their identity digitally and then using it to contribute to the ledger, voting records become immutable, unhackable, and completely out the hands of any central authority. To ensure maximum participation in this new government, we must design a website that is not only stimulating but intuitive. Studies have found that taking design elements found in video games may have a profound impact on personal fulfillment when applied to non-traditional tasks. By gamifying politics, citizens will be less inclined to see self-governance as a chore. Life becomes a lot more fun when one is freed to truly decide their own fate. And a decentralized system of governance will empower each and every one of us with the tools necessary to make our own voice heard. Every citizen will have a profile with all the customization needed to fully express their own unique energy. In the same way that you currently grow an online following, individuals will make their wishes known to better collaborate and mobilize with people of a like mind. Digital badges and points will be awarded for participation in government, and the experience points you gain will level you up, reminding participants of all the small wins that they've accrued. Some of the public influencers we currently laugh at will become real activists, making real change in a system driven by popular demand. While democracy is necessary for a world in which all people are respected, it does not ensure it. We must strive to create a culture, offline and on, which aims for excellence and moral virtue. The ancient Greeks also built their culture around this notion of arete, to prevent conflict where at all possible, and we must adopt a similar ideal to better push humans to their fullest potential. By using the tools outlined in this presentation, we can begin to transition our species into a new era of humanism, a renaissance like no other. With all voices expressing to their fullest, we will begin to have a better appreciation for one another, and the work done through global collaboration will propel us to new heights never before imagined. As we dismantle old narratives of oppression and isolation, the potential of humankind will reveal itself in all its majesty. With a selfless ledger, freedom of expression, action, and information will be every citizen's natural-born right. No longer will we see ourselves as separate, defenseless pawns in a game beyond our control, but as active participants, shaping the future as we see fit.